Okay, I want to talk about cutting the miters for the feet, for the bookcase. And this is something where just a whole lot of things can go wrong. And usually the things that go wrong are machining errors. So these are two pieces of stock that are about 28-30 inches long. Each one's enough to give 4 separate feet. You need 2 per front corner and so forth. Now, before I even worked on these were students, Andrews. They had been machined, and he had sanded them, and they were sitting around for a few days. So the first thing I did was take a straight edge and put it on them to see if they had cupped it all. And in fact, they had. So I took my bench plane and did a few swipes down the center of each one, checking it to make sure that it was flat. That's critical, because when we put it in the fixture over here, if it's rocking, it's going to be a problem. Then, with the pieces long to set up the saw, I mitered the ends. That way, if I mess it up, I can cut it shorter and so forth. So I went to the blue Makita chop box, not the yellow DeWalt, but the blue Makita chop box, and cut these miters. And before I go any further, I'm going to put a square on them and make sure that it's actually a square cut. Because if it's not cut in square, once again, it is going to lead to problems. So these are square. The practice that I did for this demo, prior to what you're seeing, I had to cut one end 3 times to get it right. So to regurgitate it back to you, these need to be flat. You need to make sure there's no cupping, because they'll rock in the fixture. If they rock in the fixture, the groove will not come across evenly. It might come up heavy and go across and create all sorts of problems. So these need to be flat, and this miter needs to be square. That is critical. For our setup, I've got this piece of particle board assembly, which is just a box channel made, chopped at 45 degrees. Now this thing had been sitting around over the year, so it took probably about 15-20 minutes worth of work to re-square it up to where when I set it down, it's flat and not rocking. I also have a piece of 120 grit sandpaper on here to keep things from sliding. But this is hollow in here. It's just making contact going around. This fence setup is a piece of, 4-inch MDF, I'm guessing. Yeah, 4-inch MDF screwed to a good miter gauge. And by good, I mean one that when I put the square up to it, it's going to be square. This happens to be one of the old Generals, the green ones, and these work fairly well. So I just did this pencil. I'm going to slide up to here, and I am going to clamp it. And when I clamp it, I'm looking for a few things. I'm looking to see if this whole thing lifts up. If so, I've got to put a piece of tape up here so it doesn't do that. This needs to be working properly. I'm going to be pushing it, kind of using the handle here. When I take my piece and slide it down up against this fence, it needs to touch flat everywhere. It needs to be tight on the table, front, middle, back, and tight against the fence. Alright, I'm going to cut these. This is a rip blade. It's about a heavy 1/4 inch set. Now to cut it, I'm just going to hold my piece here. Before I make the cut, I'm going to make sure everything's down and tight. Now I might have some problems with this one. I'll show you that in a second. is the distance the groove is from this back edge. And when I put these together, the top of the groove lines up and there's not so much distortion on the front. I mean, this miter's running a little bit long, but not too great of an amount. Check the bottom as well. In here it's pretty much the same thing. It lines up fairly well. I'll have to do a little bit of sanding there. Okay? And to verify it, that went in 5/16. That went in 5/16 of an inch. Now I want to show you how I make the splines for this. These are two pieces of material that's about 1 inch wider than the molding. And I'm going to bring this blade up to where it's over 5/8. So, flip it around. And work it out. Cut these off is I'll just go over to the bandsaw, set them for a little bit less than 5/8 and cut them off. I don't want to do that on the table saw here, that'd be a little too dangerous. But these will just be slid off and that will give me the 2 splines. Now it is intentionally cut long. So this is, I'm going to guess 1 inch longer than the molding. You want that so you have something to hold on to when you're sliding it in.